David, if you need to help me with this, you can, but I'd like to see if we can't look at maybe bringing that back on an agenda item to name the Great Lake after former Councilmember Matt Garcia, if that would be something. David Lim, do I need a second? I'm sorry, Mr. City Attorney, do I need a second?
Not at this time. If you're just bringing up something that you'd like placed on the agenda for future consideration, you can just ask that be done. Staff can work on it and then present something, and at that time you can take
And then if I could get any
it.
support for that, that would be.
I think we'd have consensus, wouldn't we, Council?
Sure.
Councilman Moy and Bertani, do you concur?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, colleagues. And that's my report for tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilman Tim, please.
Yeah, thank you. Christina Chamberlain, an excellent job. And from you, your staff, and what I'm referring to is Parks and Rec and downtown. And I think it's also a harbinger of things to come in the future. I know that we have so many new employees here, especially in leadership positions, but from the assistant city manager, Parks and Rec, of course, police, and it just bodes well, I think, for the city, and we're starting to show, I think, people that what we can do and what is possible. I had the most fun in a long time. Of course, I had 3 granddaughters with me, but it was special. And Scott, what you said about hanging around when it was over, people hung out, and it was nice. Still a lot of issues, but I just wanted to say thank you, and it's nice to look forward to the future. And I don't know if we're all happy because maybe we're coming out of COVID, but man, it was just nice to get out and shake hands and get some hugs, and so. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you, especially to Parks and Rec, and actually I have a proclamation here pretty quick. So, Mayor, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilwoman Moy, please, your report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to piggyback with my colleagues. Christina, Public Works, Police, Fire, every department really had work to do out there and did it very well. To pick up and do something for the first time is difficult. I organized the July 4th parade some years ago, and we had all volunteers, and it's quite a feat. And we even got the flyover, which I was ecstatic about. And I love seeing the kids' faces, everybody, and just really, really, really well done. And I want to thank the assistant city manager as well, and the city manager for everything. And I loved seeing our police chief. She's always out at events, but loved seeing her there waving and getting out of the Bearcat. It was hilarious. I have a hilarious picture of them. But it was really good. And I also do love, like Scott Tonneson said, the after party, if you will, down at the county green space. That was wonderful for the children. And I just look forward to building on it more and more, as Chuck Tim said. I also wanted to report that Susan City Councilwoman Wanda Wilson and I spent about 2 hours at Shelter Solano very recently, and really talked deeply about policy there and about what they want to do as far as the things that we've been discussing there as well. And it sounds like, they're trying very hard, and they're working with the owners of the property and us and our subcommittee for the 2x2. But it looks like we still have some hurdles to go there. And it looks like we won't be having a walk-on center there, because that would be a problem for the homeless. But we do have that already over on the other side of town, which is awesome. I've been by there too, and they're doing a great job helping people. Unbelievable the work that's going on here. I'm really happy and really proud and thankful to my colleagues, because you all know how much I want to help these people, and I know how much you all do too. And then on top of it, we want to help our citizens who are really having a tough time, Mr. Mayor. 2 days ago, I was sent a picture that a girl wrote to her mom over here in Wood Creek, and she said, help. It was something like that, but she said that there was a homeless woman out there threatening them with a knife. And down in Wood Creek, we have a lot of folks who cross over from the county side, come up and commit all kinds of crimes, including chasing a woman with an axe. Police go out there a lot. So we're gonna need to, I know we're all trying to think of things, but we're gonna really need to change some laws at the state and federal level so we can get help, mandatory help for these people with mental illness. It's inhumane for them to be out there, and they are threatening other people's lives and violating their constitutional rights. So we need to get a grip on it and push up at the higher levels, because that's where we're going to see change. And that's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bertani, please, your report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to mirror all of the comments of my colleagues and say that the 4th of July parade this year was a job really well done. And I think I shared with most of my colleagues my excitement about the Clydesdales being there, the Anheuser-Busch crew, and I just want to thank them as well. It was fabulous, and I look forward to many more to come. I know it's a lot of heavy lifting that's involved with these kinds of events, and so thank you to everyone from our fire chief on up that helped make this a great success. And I also want to just say that I'm not there tonight because I had my second and final vaccine shot today for COVID-19, the Pfizer vaccine, and feeling a little bit groggy, but good. So just want to encourage everyone. I know we've heard the reports about the Delta variant and its escalation upwards in the state of California and beyond. So just pushing for everyone to get that vaccine. And finally, I just want to say that the Fairfield Clergy Action Network will be meeting for the 3rd time this month, July 27th at 3 p.m. In the council chambers this time. And so I'm really looking forward to that meeting taking place and the great work that this team will be able to pull off in the city of Fairfield. That's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Vice Mayor, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And, you know, of course, I concur with my colleagues about the parade, Christina and her staff, and fire and police, public works, everybody who was involved. It went off without a hitch, and it was really great to see all our citizens out there again. It almost felt a little normal out there, which was pretty good for the last 15 months, and I think my grandkids still have smiles on their faces from that day. Also, I wanted to thank the Parks and Rec, especially Christina and, gosh, I can't remember his name, the young, who? Ryan. On helping with the skills camp that Stevie Johnson and Jamie Richards, two of my former students. Stevie, of course, was a former pro football player, and they had a skills camp down in Allen Whitten Park, and it went off great. I went down there to see it, and I know they plan on doing a basketball camp too over the summer, which is going to be great. And I think it's just more than just showing kids how to play. It's like, you know, they just want to show kids, like, you know, just to get together and have a good time when you are playing, have fun, and learn a little bit along the way. So I was really impressed, so thank you, Christina, for that. And then the barbecue, the employee appreciation barbecue that a bunch of us went to. I want to thank the associations who put that on. I know I saw firefighters cooking, I saw FGMA, Public Works, police, so it was an effort, and we all helped a little bit too out there. So it it was really a nice event, and I hope this is going to be a yearly event, and I'm sure it will be. And the last thing, Mr. Mayor, I wanted to bring up was received an email from, on behalf of the mayor of the city of Berkeley today asking if Fairfield would be willing to participate in, from November 14th to the 20th. It's basically a week United Against Hate Week 2021. And with all the escalated crime against the Asian community and the protests from last summer and the inclusivity that everybody has been talking about, this is really, I think it's really important that Fairfield participate in this, and we can participate in this by proclamation, by maybe doing short videos, by saying what Fairfield does to be inclusive out there in our community. So I told him that I would bring it up to the council. I know I spoke to the mayor, and I'm sure that my colleagues would agree that that would be something that would be really important to us. So that's November 14th to the 20th, and I know we can discuss that later, but I was very impressed by it, and I think it's something that we, as Fairfield, being a diverse city that we are, would be a part of. So that's my report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll make mine very brief. The weekend really started with that annual employee luncheon, and I just want to take my hat off to all the city employees who were able to participate in that, not only in the food preparation, but also in the consumption of the food and the really wonderful conversations that took place throughout Willow Hall. And I especially want to acknowledge my council members, the 5 of us who were there that day to serve. Really great. The parade. It will become known, in my lexicon anyway, as the parade, because that was truly reflective of all that pent-up demand that people had to get out and do something in public that could be shared with people everywhere. And I take my hat off to the wing commander at Travis Air Force Base, Colonel Simmons. When I asked him for the flyby, he said, when the mayor asked, we try to deliver, but it was uncertain whether the mission that the Air Force at Travis has to fulfill, whether that really would happen. So it was quite an honor to see that C-17 flying over. You talk about raising people's spirits. And my observation from riding through that parade was a good example of the ethnic diversity that exists in the city of Fairfield. And there were people of all ages and all physical conditions who were able to participate. So thank you, colleagues, and especially Public Works, police, firefighters. Thank you for all the work that you did. The congressman was quite impressed. He had never seen anything like that. And Senator Bill Dodd also said, I don't know why I ever missed this parade. So anyway, I will be attending, just for your information, colleagues, I'll be attending a change of command ceremony at Travis on Friday morning. And I will take our appreciation in the form of something very sweet that's known worldwide for that C-17 crew who did that mission for us. Mr. City Manager, your report, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Well, I'll just build off of council. I'm very proud of our staff and all the work that went into the 4th of July parade. A lot of hours, a lot of time behind the scenes, and my hat's off to all of our staff. Really excellent day. It really was. I'll also just a reminder that we are in the process of a general plan update. So fairfieldforward.com for those in the public that want to be in the loop on all that's going on with the general plan update. We are about a quarter of the way through that process as of right now. So it keeps humming along and making good progress. And then lastly, just a reminder, next Tuesday the 13th, there's going to be a special meeting in here for the American Rescue Plan Act money for council to give some direction to staff on how those monies get spent. So encourage people to come to that.
Okay. And are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes to the agenda.
Mr. City Attorney, your report, please.
I have nothing to report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We'll go right then to presentations. Madam Clerk, if you would, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Your report first, then we'll do the presentation.
The only thing I wanted to report is I wanted to thank all of the volunteers. We had at least 40, and everyone showed up. And Mr. City Attorney, thank you. He brought his whole family to volunteer, so I really appreciate that. And again, it was a great parade. Thank you.
And we have one proclamation. Councilman
Yes.
Tim, please.
Proclamation declaring July as Parks and Recreation Month. And Councilmember Tim will read the proclamation.
Christina, come on down and join me, please. Thank you. This is your night, it's your department's night. This is from the Office of the Mayor. It's National Parks and Recreation Month. July 2021. Whereas parks and recreation are vitally important. Yeah, here. You take it. Start again, thank you. Whereas parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. And whereas the City of Fairfield Parks and Recreation Department's mission is to engage the community in programs, facilities, and services that foster active and healthy lifestyles, support positive social interaction, and enhance our community's quality of life. And whereas parks and rec programs and in the prevention of chronic disease provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled and improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas the City of Fairfield has a well-loved park system comprised of 25 parks, open space and trails, which along with the recreation programs improve a community's economic prosperity through increasing property values, expanding the local tax base, growing tourism, attracting and retaining businesses, and reducing crime. And whereas parks and national recreation areas are fundamental to the environment, well-being of our community, improving water quality, protecting groundwater, preventing flooding, improving the quality of the air we breathe, providing vegetative buffers to development, and producing habitat for wildlife. Whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and the City of Fairfield, California, recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now, therefore, I, Harry T. Price, Mayor of the City of Fairfield, do hereby proclaim the month of July as National Parks and Recreation Month in the City of Fairfield. And the Mayor encourages you all to partake. Christina, it is my pleasure on behalf of the Mayor and the Council to present this to you.
Thank you so much.
And what a perfect timing.
I know, I
I'll
felt
let
the
you-
same way. It's like, what a great way to kick off Parks and Rec July with the awesome 4th of July parade. And we had the honor of coordinating that effort. We had a representative from every city department. And of course, as our city clerk mentioned, the volunteers that came out and helped with that event was just awesome to see everybody come together, our businesses, civic organizations. It truly was a community event, and it was a pleasure to be part of it. So I thank everybody for their support and coming out and enjoying the day. So thank you.
Thank you.
And we have fun happening. So I have a gift for each of the council members.
Oh my goodness.
So we have a motto, delivering awesome, and I think we did that with the 4th of July.
Thank you. You absolutely do. Thank you.
Thank you, and these are for the two ladies.
Thank you very much. We turn now to the process for public comments, and before you read that information, because of the length of our agenda this evening, we'll restrict public comments to 2 minutes each, please. Madam Clerk, if you would.
Persons wishing to address the City Council on subjects not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the Council may do so at this time. The Council cannot discuss or take action on matters not on the agenda for this meeting, but Council members may briefly respond to statements made or questions raised by the public, ask for clarification from staff, refer the matter to staff, request staff to report back to the Council at a subsequent meeting, or place the matter on a future agenda. If you haven't already done so, to speak on an agenda item, please complete a speaker's card and give it to me prior to the time for comment on that item. Thank you. And our first, we only have one speaker for public comment, and then we have 2 for the next item, item 2. So Jeff Traeger, please.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I just want to bring everybody up to date on what's going on at the Downtown Theater. On the 17th of this month, the Missouri Street Theater is presenting Into the Woods, which is a production about the beloved Grimm brothers and they're set to music, the classic tales that they are involved with, including Cinderella and Rapunzel. And anyway, that's going till the 31st. It's a sort of a modern twist on what the Brothers Grimms used to do. We just came off 2 sold-out shows at the in the courthouse courtyard of the Downtown Theater. And we have another presentation on the 6th of June with Rosalind Pugh. And then coming up, we have 2 real, I'm looking forward to these because they sold out the last time, tribute to the great Aretha Franklin and Anita Baker. And then in December, there's a tribute to Luther Vandross. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. We'll convene the meeting of the Paradise Valley Maintenance and Monitoring District.
Item 2, public hearing and resolution PVMMD 2021-10-04 of the Paradise Valley Maintenance and Monitoring District Board approving the 2021-2022 supplement to engineer's report as modified and ordering the levy of assessment for the Paradise Valley Maintenance and Monitoring District. And our presenter is Ryan Panganiban, Assistant Public Works Director.
Good evening, Chair Price, Vice Chair Vaccaro, and members of the Paradise Valley Maintenance and Monitoring District Board. The item for consideration tonight is the final step in the process of adopting the fiscal year 2021 to 2022 annual assessment. And before diving into the budget discussion, I want to provide a bit of background on the district itself and touch on the work completed in the past year. So the Paradise Valley Maintenance and Monitoring District is located in the northern limits of the city, nestled within this hillside. The area is less than a quarter mile away from the Paradise Valley Golf Course Clubhouse. So this red line that's shown on the slide, it represents the district boundary, which currently includes 216 residential units and encompasses approximately 88 acres. So just a few points of clarification on which homes or developments are included in this year's assessment. So the 68 units from the recently completed Paradise Valley 360 is included in this year's assessment. However, it does not include the under construction Paradise Valley Estates expansion. So these 70 units will be brought to the district in subsequent fiscal years. It's also worth noting that the district owns the open space area just above the homes, and with this ownership of the property comes a different set of risks and liabilities to consider. So real briefly, a background on the Paradise Valley Maintenance and Monitoring District, or as staff refers to it as PVMMD. Because of the soil's composition, the developer was required to create this geological hazard abatement district. And as it's described in the district's plan of control, it is formed to permanently monitor and maintain slopes and slope correction measures, including retaining walls and detention basins within this district. The GADS assessment occurs annually and are collected on the property tax bill. And in order to maintain transparency, the funds received by the district are maintained in an independent GAD account. So with the next few slides, I want to provide a status update and highlight a few of the milestones we've completed over the past year. So improving awareness and public outreach continues to be a high priority, and it's a critical element to our success. In February, the district created a website, And this is a great resource for past district documents, frequently asked questions, and general district information. The first virtual neighborhood meeting was conducted on May 26th, and there's 20 people that attended this Zoom meeting. At the April 20th board meeting, the board may recall, we hired a new geotechnical engineering firm, Cal Engineering and Geology. This is the district's subject matter expert and will assist with the day-to-day operations and maintenance. So this procurement process, it occurred over several months and was a collaborative effort with the district's resident ad hoc committee. So more recently, Cal Engineering and Geology conducted initial site assessment and is underway on completing a thorough review of the district's formation documents. I'm happy to report that this year our annual weed abatement was completed on time, and staff also completed or hosted a discussion with this ad hoc committee to review the past 2018 reserve study. So last year, the board may recall, there was a request to perform a financial audit. So to this end, staff worked closely with its external auditor, Eide Bailey, to craft a scope of work. So after several coordination meetings and exhausting this process, the ad hoc committee determined Eide Bailey wasn't the right fit and declined proceeding with this work. So at this time, staff's recommendation and a critical piece to understanding how the funding was managed in the past is to revisit and update this reserve fund study. This work is actually included contractually as part of Cal Engineering and Geology's work, and we'll have that to inform our future assessments. Just a snapshot of the next steps in the process, with the key deliverables being the reserve study, which we anticipate having in the fall of this year. And then subsequently, we'll be meeting again with the district residents in the winter to inform them of the findings from that reserve study. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit, and I want to spend a few moments to go over the district's fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. And this slide is difficult to read, and I plan on going in greater detail, almost line by line, within the next few slides. So you may notice a few differences in the budget, what was adopted on June 1st, and what's presented here today. So we've actually added an expenditure column for the past 2 years at the request of the residents. And then we've also updated our projections for this current fiscal year, 2020 to 2021, based on the cost that we've received through June 6th. So these past expenses, they've helped inform how we've come up with the 2021-22 budget. And to be clear, what's presented here, again, are simply projections and will be dependent on the actual work that's completed. So what is included and anticipated in this upcoming year? As the property owner, again, the open space it's required for weed abatement, and this is to the tune of $25,000. What's going to change this year, upcoming year, we anticipate preparing a request for proposals for a contractor to provide weed abatement services in the upcoming year. The $85,000, it represents the estimated cost for Cal Engineering and Geology to complete the required technical studies. And it also includes AIM Consulting, a professional public engagement consultant that the district hired to facilitate the public engagement process. Approximately $25,000 is attributed to cost allocation for district staff time. And the remaining $84,000 is the deferred maintenance items. So clearing out the built-up debris and sediment from the concrete lined ditches and repairing the access road to the open space area have been put off for several years. Several of these items were identified in this initial site assessment that was conducted by Cal Engineering and Geology in January. So similar to the weed abatement services, staff intends on preparing a competitive bid process for a contractor to complete this work. So the final component of the budget is the reserve. And as it's been previously stated, the reserve is intended to address larger geological events. And just for context, I've included a couple of examples from other districts in Contra Costa County to kind of give you a scale and scope of what could occur. As noted here, the reserve is approximately $1.5 million. And to date, the only document that describes or sets the district's reserve goal of 1.7 million is that 2018 NGO study. So until this revisited and updated reserve study is complete, staff recommends that we maintain and not increase or reduce the current reserve balance. So if assessment rates are maintained at the current level with no increase for fiscal year 2021, district revenues would total approximately $226,000. So in other words, this maintaining the current assessment levels would create a near balance between revenues and expenses. This means not a drop in the reserves or an increase. So staff's recommendation tonight is to maintain the current rates, which is $1,158.95 for single-family residential units and $579.22 for a medium-density residential units. So that concludes my presentation. Staff's recommendation is to conduct a public hearing and approving the 2021-2022 supplement to the engineer's report as modified, and ordering the levy of assessments for the Paradise Valley and Maintenance and Monitoring District.
And before I do that, any council comments or Councilman
No,
Tim?
you're going to open the public hearing?
Yeah.
Because I just have questions for Ryan, but I'll, go ahead.
Yeah, want to go ahead and ask your question before I open the public hearing, please?
Okay, well, just one very briefly, and Ryan, if you don't know the answer, and believe me, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, okay? The difference between single-family residential and high density and the difference in the costs. Do you know how that board came up with that, or how the city came up with that? How many years ago? Do you know?
Unfortunately, Councilman, I don't.
Okay.
The plan and control is the formation documents that describes the rates and the assessment levels. I don't have the specifics.
No, I'm not trying to play gotcha. I mean, it's just an honest question. If you knew, that's fine. But I appreciate that. And I've got some more, but they'll get easier, I think. Mayor, thank you, sir.
Thank you. And Councilman Moy, Councilman Bertani, any comments or questions before we open the public hearing?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I don't. Yeah, I'll just wait to hear what our public has to say. Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, same with me. I want to hear the public comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will open the public hearing. Anyone choosing to speak on this item should do so now.
Okay, I do have two cards, one from Theda Peck. And the next speaker will be Rick Johnson.
You limited us to 2 minutes.
Yeah, want to come to the podium over here, sir?
Can you reestablish, oh, she's up first. Can you
Yeah.
reestablish not only 3 minutes, but possibly more? As everybody's mentioned, this is very important. A lot of people are very concerned about it, and to reduce that amount of time by a third doesn't seem to be very just. Can you expand it back to 3 minutes?
I will do that.
Thank you.
3 minutes, please. Ma'am, go ahead, please.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, doesn't sound right. My name is Theda Peck. I'm a resident of the GAD. I live at 1429 Annandale. During the last 12 months, Rick and I have been working with Public Works on various items to include the selection of the new engineering company and the next fiscal year's budget. From the board meeting last year, 3 items were expected to be completed. A review of the initial plan of control, an updated engineering inspection report, and a current reserve study. At this point, none of these items have been received. I did see in the package out there, the engineering report, which is out there. However, the one directly associated with the assessment fee, the reserve study was specifically asked to be completed by May 2021, so that it could be reviewed not only by us, but by you, and the comments made specific to the fee amount. This did not happen. Actually, in your comments today, during our budget meeting with Public Works, we specifically asked for another meeting to directly talk about the assessment fee. That did not occur. So the assessment fee that's being recommended today is not from the ad hoc residential committee. We had no input to that. Let's see, did not happen. Any changes and recommendations that are from the assessment fee when we do get the reserve study, it's going to be too late because the assessment roll has to be in by a certain date. We will not meet that date. So again, we're waiting a whole nother year before we can bring up changing the assessment fee. Once again, the primary issue is not being addressed, and that is the fee amount has consistently been overinflated. I submitted to the city clerk electronically and original hard copies today of a petition signed by the GAD residents to lower our assessment fee to the 2018 recommended amount. We've discussed with Public Works the calculations and Ian presented recommendations for several actions to be taken to correct the problem of the assessment fee being too high. But nothing is taken, no actions are taken to correct this problem. Everything falls on deaf ears. It is not an unsolvable problem. Actually, it's very easy to solve. It just takes a little calculation. It's not like we have thousands and thousands of residents or parcels. We have 216 right now. I did it for my house, and it can be easily done for every parcel. I sent the information to the board members, Public Works, the email I sent Public Works that outlined several recommendations and how it can be fixed. One is reducing it to the 2018 level, which is the petition that we got 50% of the residents to sign. Other people want it completely taken off. It should be completely eliminated for this year. He showed $1.5 million that we have in the fund. That amount should be collected over a 40-year period, and we're collecting it in 11 years, 12 years, 1/4 the time. I asked this question last year. Why are we front-loading this fund? I have yet to get that information, along with a few other questions. So I'm a little upset because I sent every one of you guys the email I sent him with the recommendations, the spreadsheet of the budget, and how this can be fixed. I got a response from Mr. Tim and Ms. Moy, or Mrs. Moy, as to the acknowledgement of receipt. I didn't get anything from anybody as to, hey, let's talk about this. Let's go over the numbers. What's the residents' feelings about this? Nothing.
Ma'am, would you conclude, please?
Sure. If you're not willing to take just a few minutes to discuss something as important as taxpayers being overassessed, then it's time to step down. If you're not involved with this GAD board, you need to step away from it and let the homeowners take it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the 2018 report. It's been referred to. A section of it. Let's go with it. There is a second handout with it also.
Okay.
And my time.
And Rick
starts.
Johnson is our next speaker.
Thank you. Good evening, PVMMD board members and GAD officers. My name is Rick Johnson. I've been serving as a resident volunteer along with Theta on the committee, working with Ryan and Chris in Public Works to work in the area of locating a new GAD company as well as an audit organization. None of those topics are for discussion tonight. Tonight is specifically your vote for our assessment. Public Works has been recommending that we remain at the current level, which is from the 2018 report, of which you have in your hand. The 2018 report also recommends or says you may reduce the assessment to $878, down from the $1,100 at that time. The smaller assessment is $439. You are able to reduce it because, as the report indicates, the expenses are extremely lower. We have averaged spending $7,000 a year for the first 8 years. You have collected over $170,000, now $220,000 per year. That's why our reserve is so high. And that's why we were told, just relax, the money's there. The tax is growing. Every year, including 2018, you voted to increase it by the CPI without need. You could, because it said you could, but you did not need the money. We are asking you to use the rest of the 2018 report, which says you need it to be smaller because your expenses are low. Your reserve account is very high. That meeting in that year, in 2018, you voted to increase. And I don't know if you saw this report. I don't know if you were given that information. I've reviewed the videotapes of the meetings. Nothing was discussed. It was handled as a consent vote. There was no discussion. There was no, and Brian did a great job tonight of bringing forth good facts and figures. That's been sorely absent. So thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. It's all about the numbers. Our people are paying taxes way higher than they need to be officially. The number going forward is going to be low. The number has been low, and in 2018, there was an inspection done by NGO, and that's the loose piece of paper you also have, which identifies what was needed to be done. That is after 8 years of operation. The biggest thing that needed to be done is dump more gravel on the road. That cost $30,000. That accounted for almost all the money spent. $35,000 total was spent. 8 years. That's all that was done besides cutting the grass, as you saw, the $25,000 expense item. In conclusion, the final inspection of the GAD that was just taking place, our gentleman from CE&G, their company inspected the GAD. We are in great shape. There's some minor dirt that needs to be moved around, very similar to 2018. We do not expect the next numbers to be very high for maintenance at all. They should be low, as the 2018 was low also. So please go with the 2018 recommendation, reduce our tax, bring it down, and please go with the science. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, before,
Yes.
I actually have a question to this gentleman.
Councilman Tim, please go ahead.
Answer. I've dedicated 6 years of my life to
I know,
this.
I know. Just because you don't hear something being said, we see from staff's perspective what's going on. But my question to you is, sir,
Yes.
is within 8 years, it was fairly new, now things are starting to happen. Would you be willing, if in a year from now you're here and there's been a great expenditure, so instead of asking for things to be cut, you're saying, please don't raise it? Do you see what I mean? If something happens?
Yes, sir.
Because it's a crapshoot now.
You have various vehicles available to you as a GAD, though. You can borrow money, and then you can put an assessment fee on that.
And whose money is that?
That's ours.
That's your money,
Absolutely.
correct? So my question then would be is, as a taxpayer in Fairfield, I don't live in your area, but if something catastrophic happened and you didn't have the money, then do you come to us? Or is it
No.
that the people in the GAD area responsible?
We're completely responsible. The GAD board has the ability to borrow money, and it can go ahead to the marketplace, borrow the money, amortize it, and yet be even a smaller payment than otherwise would be necessary. Or, as we're currently paying, we would save money either way.
And your ad hoc board is comfortable with that, understanding that you don't know what the future holds?
Yes.
We're fairly, I guess, confident that nothing bad is going to happen, but now it's getting older.
Right. We're utilizing the information and the history of Rancho Solano, which is why we have a GAD, is because
Correct.
they had problems, but the HOA manages a fund of approximately $5 million without the assistance of the city to maintain the hills and to keep it in good shape, and they have not had any significant issues since they were formed and received their money.
Knock on wood. Okay, but I just want to make sure that you're comfortable, and you know actually what I'm asking you is it's a crapshoot for the future, but you're comfortable in your stance, and your residents and your board is comfortable with that.
Yes.
Okay, that answers that. Thank you. Mayor, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other council comments or questions for the speaker?
Love the answer.
I would just, this is Pam
Councilwoman
Bertani.
Bertani.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I would just pick up on where Chuck left off and really just want to validate what he's asking, because when I spoke with Vita last month, I suggested that she get a petition of residents to concur with this action. And it's only because I mean, we've seen what has happened recently in Seaside, Florida. Things happen that we don't anticipate. And so I just want to make sure that our residents there are fully understanding the gravity of what we're talking about. And if the residents, and I guess this is a question for the city attorney, in terms of assumption of risk. And that's a legal, term that lawyers understand, but what happens if the San Andreas Fault gives us a good shake and something happens there in that neighborhood that is not sustained by what's currently in the reserve? What happens legally and financially in the city of Fairfield? Mr. City Attorney.
Councilmember Bertani, to answer that question, I think it would require a lot of speculation. Unfortunately, you never want to assume the worst, so it really would depend on the level.
Let's assume the worst tonight.
Well, assuming the worst, a
Just
giant
for the sake of
landslide
argument.
buries the residents, and that's a huge liability.
If we could, I would recommend you talk with our gentleman who's the Geo company. The risk factor that they've identified in the very initial study limited it at approximately $200,000. Our formation, our slope, our gradient, the quality of material, the potential and the risk are not significant, unlike the seaside communities or a oceanside community or somebody in another town. So the risk assessment, very good question, is what it's all based upon. An insurance policy could be purchased, but also what is the worst case scenario, not from us, not from me, but from a geological expert that we hire as our contract services, I would suggest, versus our speculation. I'm not an expert. I know nobody else here is. This gentleman here is. And I suggest that that's where we draw that kind of information from.
And to answer the council member's question, I'm not trying to be evasive, Councilmember Bertani. I just, from my experience, assessing legal risk in determining the best course of action for, engineering or assessments is usually not recommended. There's liability in everything that the city does, from, building a sidewalk to putting up a street sign to setting an assessment fee. It all depends on the facts, as they say in law school. And so everything is going to depend on the facts. Really, what you're asking is kind of a policy decision, is how much risk is a city willing to bear in its, determination of assessment, and that is clearly a policy decision for the council and not for the city attorney. I will note that there is an engineer here. I am not an engineer, so I'm really not equipped to handle that, but there is, I believe, someone from Cal Engineering.
Yeah, so...
And let me weigh in really quickly and say that I'm not really trying to assess the risk of the city of Fairfield in the event of, a catastrophe. I'm trying to assess the risk of our residents in the wake of something happening that we don't anticipate. Because the bottom line is we want our residents to be safe. And so my question to you, Mr. City Attorney, is, what happens if a catastrophic event happens? And it could. I hope it doesn't, probably won't, but we are sitting on the San Andreas Fault. So what happens economically and legally if this community is faced with a catastrophe that the reserve cannot handle? That is my question.
Well, I think, right now you are meeting as two different bodies. You're meeting as the PVMMD. The reserve, in the event of a catastrophic injury, the 1.5 million is not going to be enough to do much of anything. So again, not trying to be evasive, everything is a calculated risk. The decision to form the PVMMD is designed to mitigate damages and protect the public, but cannot be a guarantee for protection of any and all risk. And any liability or any catastrophic event is going to have some consequences for everyone involved.
Your expert will be able to give you a better risk assessment identification of what is capable of taking place. How many metric tons, how many cubic yards are likely to be moved through a various event. They can provide that clarity if asked. And we are building homes, talking about risk, we're building homes on the Green Valley Fault. We have homes that actually have
Exactly.
easements that
Exactly.
literally, the house is built off the street because there's an earthquake easement in their front yard. So we are right at the edge and taking risks, which I don't think are not appropriate, but we are looking at it and the science is making the call, not our fears. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilman Mayor.
Vice Mayor first, and then we'll come back to you, please.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm thinking about, we all are, our residents and these folks who have given years of their life to study this, and they're more expert than we are. They live there. They've looked at the studies closely. It seems like they live by them. And you would in any neighborhood. I am always concerned when government is overtaxing. And as our city attorney has said, we cannot probably put enough money somewhere to pay for something hugely catastrophic. So I am also seriously concerned about the fact that it sounds like we haven't done things that we promised we would do. We've got to do better than that. And I appreciate Ryan, I appreciate all of our staff who've worked hard. Ryan's, worked with them now. And, but still, if promises were made, they need to be kept. And I won't vote for any assessment tonight. I would vote to reduce it to the 2018 report, as our citizen told us.
Thank
and
you.
that we have in our public information. Overtaxing people is really inappropriate. Most people in this city work exceptionally hard and don't make tons and tons of money. So we have to, protect them. People are taxed on everything from flushing their toilets to water and everything else, and we know that. This is a bit much, and we have a huge reserve, and that's where I'm going with this, is that I'm not going to vote for it if we keep it as it is. I would if we cut it, and then, next year, we could take another look, but we do need to get that study done, as was promised. I feel like we are flying out here without all of the gas we need in our airplane, the fuel. Sometimes it's difficult to make these policy decisions when we don't have all of the information, updated information. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And Mr. Vice Mayor, please now close the public hearing.
Okay. Yeah, just real quick, I just wanted to say that, obviously everybody's done their homework on this, and you feel comfortable. I think also if there's a major catastrophic situation, that's where FEMA steps in. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. 1.4 million is nothing. Okay, but if there's a major earthquake here, or something like we're talking about, what's happened in Florida and other places, what happened in New Orleans with the floods, FEMA steps in, and that's exactly what would happen, I believe. Am I right, Mr. City Attorney, in a situation like that?
I'm not a FEMA expert, but generally you're correct. Yes.
Probably, right, okay. That's the only statement I would want to make, yeah.
Councilman Tim,
And
please.
Mr. Mayor, before we end this conversation, can I ask one more question, please?
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Why hasn't the reserve study been completed?
Yeah, I can answer that question. So there's been delays on our end of procuring Cal Engineering and Geology during the course of the last 8 months. It's taken some time to kind of articulate that scope of work, make sure that that feedback we're receiving from the ad hoc committee is complete, and then getting that process and getting all that collaboration done. So I know we made a commitment to complete this to inform this fiscal year budget. Unfortunately, that study isn't done. The good news is that we're on a path forward, and we have a light at the end of the tunnel, as we showed in this, coming forward and being completed in the fall. So it just took longer for us to put together and get Cal Engineering under contract.
Well, how many deadlines have we missed in terms of completion of the reserve study? How many deadlines have been missed?
I believe only one deadline has been missed thus far, ever since council identified last year that you wanted to see a new reserve. I'm sorry, the board requested that staff work with the residents and conduct a new study. That's the study that Ryan just referred to that is behind schedule, and they're working with the consultants and trying to finish that up here, I think, by the fall. Pardon?
Okay, and we've missed that deadline by how long?
By 4 months, 5 months.
By
4 or 5 months, we've missed that deadline.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Tim, you had another comment you wanted to make?
Yeah, I do, Mayor. Thank you. I think we all received just a ton of email. The last one I got earlier this evening was from a Dr. Mark Commodi, I believe, and he asked several questions in there. And when we're going back and forth, we probably didn't make, or you probably didn't make the case for lowering it when we start talking about catastrophic events. What I'm concerned about is that it's not a taxation, it's your money, the city's not spending your money, but that you're adequately covered. And my big question is, in looking at this, is that I'm not opposed to going back to 2018. I'm not opposed at all, as long as you're not opposed if something comes up that now it's going to go back up. But my question is why do single-family residential pay more than medium density? And in discussions with our assistant city manager earlier, it's, well, one property's worth more than another property. Well, you're not looking, I don't think, to make properties whole. What you're looking for is to fix the hillside or something like that. And what I would like to see going forward, and I don't expect you to do it tonight, but when it comes back, is there's 200 and some odd homes, then you have the addition of other homes. I would like to see everybody pay the same price, whatever it is, right? Well, because if you lived in an apartment and the hill fell, I mean, it's still your apartment or your smaller house as opposed to a bigger house next door, but the risk is all the same for everybody. But what I would say is, we're going to find out here fairly soon what the numbers will be, but you were right, ma'am, and when you said if we don't get it done, now we go another full year. So if you're willing to take that risk, I'm willing to take the risk along with you. But just understand if the numbers come back and it's way higher, don't come back in here and go, oh man, we missed it. I don't think that it will. You've talked to your contractors, and I'm willing to take that leap of faith with you. I'm also willing, though, to stand up for city staff, is that they're trying to look out for you, and of course, they're the ones taking the money, so they're kind of the ones with the mask and the gun, right? But not really. It's still your money, but it is an awful lot of money for another year. So, Mayor, that's where I'm going on it. So, Ryan, you understand the ask of me of staff is, what is it spread out over every resident there, or every residential property, or APN, or however you do it? Because like I said, the difference, $11.58 for single-family residential versus $5.79 for medium density, and that's what it is today. But I'm willing to Councilwoman Cat Moy's credit is to take it back to the 2018. Just understand the numbers come back, the numbers are what they are. So, Mayor, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, colleagues? Councilman Tonneson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have some questions and some comments. Before our start, I'm fine with 878. I think that's, the 40 years kind of throws me off. If we were doing that for 40 years, why are we doing this now in 10? Rick, I'm sure you could give me the number to the penny, but as expected, Rick was very prepared. I just have some questions, and these are just general questions, and I would guess they're for Ryan. Do the fires, does that hurt the hill? Does that hurt the soils? Is that?
That does impact the erosion, that, you know, that the, making sure that there's adequate, compaction, and as folks are driving up and down that slope, it kind of moves everything around. So we do need, as part of that, I mean, you do need a little bit of the plants and everything to kind of keep the soil together.
Okay. Yep. And then, I mean, I had some other questions, but it seems like we're going to the direction of, do we want to increase or keep them the same, or do we want to decrease, and then we're going to address it down the line? I'm fine with a decrease. Question, there's not a lot of GADs, is what I'm told, throughout California, correct? 35 throughout California. I knew you would have that number. How many of them run their own boards? Do you know? And then, so if 7 or 8 run their boards, why are we running this board? Or why are we the board of directors? I don't know who that question's for either. David, maybe?
I mean, sounds like they can answer.
Yeah, no, when the original formation of the district was put together in 2010, it as part of that document, it did appoint the city council to act on behalf of this independent agency. So the part of the formation documents did include that.
So to ask them a question, Mayor, would you have to reopen public comments, or, because I want to know if they want to run their own board?
I would recommend, if you want to ask questions, go ahead and just reopen the hearing. There's no harm in reopening the hearing and then close it again.
If you're the boss.
Reopen the hearing, and we'll set a 15-minute time limit, please.
It won't take anywhere near that. Do you guys want to run your own board, or would you? There you go. You can close public comments. That's all I have. I mean, it seems like they're doing a fine job. Seems like the reserves are good. If public comments are still open, you want to make a comment, Rick?
Actually, very shortly, there was only one landowner in the very beginning, and GAD from the state of California rules in the Conservation Department.
Yeah, come to the microphone, please.
Because we're on TV, Rick.
The GADs were set up that primarily the number one board formation is to be 5 landowners that are voted in, and every 4 or 5 years, are re-elected or new people are brought in, so that there is immediate representation. And to be landowners, they would be the GAD board members. In the case where we only had one landowner, there was not enough people. So the board had to be. And we definitely want to be doing it. Rancho Solano is doing it, and we live there. We're very concerned. You guys handle millions and millions of dollars, thousands and thousands of people. We are living there. We can handle this. Rancho Solano does it. 7 other GADs do it. There are experts that we would use, as you're using right now, and it's not hard to learn. I've learned it over the last 6 years, and it's not that difficult. And we have lots of people who would love to do this job. In our canvassing our owners, landowners, we are talking with people and asking them, if this ever did come to us, would you be interested in serving? We have many retired people and many qualified folks of great backgrounds that would love to jump into this, because it's not that hard to do, but it is very detail-oriented, and we could easily handle it, especially with the...
Do you know someone detail-oriented?
I've got a few in mind.
Thank you. That's all I just wanted to bring up.
Okay.
And if there's things that you guys have to discuss, and it looks like Chuck wants to say something now, but I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay.
And I'm good, Mayor. Thanks, Rick.
I'll close the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mayor, this
Councilman
is
Tim,
probably
please.
to Ryan or our city attorney, is what happens if, let's say you get your wish, and now you're your own board. Remember what happened to Parkway Gardens, the HOA, where nobody would volunteer to fill that seat, and they got put into a receivership, and it brought the city in. So I guess what I'm asking is let's say the honeymoon is over and people get upset, and now nobody wants to be on this board. Now what comes back to this city of Fairfield? then are we contractually or legally obligated then to reform this board and pick up and I don't know if you can answer that just in the 15-second question that I gave you, or if you actually got to do some research. But it is interesting because I'm not opposed if they want to run it. God bless you, you know. But on the other hand, too, I want to make sure nothing happens on the back end a year, 2 years from now. If nobody wants to be on that board, what happens then?
It's a great question, council member, and actually, Mr. Gasaway was just whispering in my ear that it was that item and that issue was not agendized for tonight. So we cannot take action on it, even if I gave you the answer, which I'm not going to give you the answer tonight. GAD is governed under Public Resources Code 26500 and 26654. Scanning it very quickly, which they taught me never to do in law school, it does not appear to address what to do when a body wants to switch to, you know, from going from one board to another board. I would imagine it just becomes a question of looking at the bylaws, but we would definitely need to do more research to give this board sound advice on how to make that transfer possible. And then we could also at that time do research on what happens once the switch is made. You know, normally just looking at any sort of homeowners association or board of directors, once that board is in place, they're it. And they can't just say, well, we decided we don't want to do this. But again, that is just my off-the-cuff answer. There's going to be need to be more research done. If council wants to give direction to staff tonight to research what it would take to dissolve this particular board and hand it over to another board, we can certainly research the mechanisms that would need to take place, including, you know, costs, liabilities, formation of the new board, and all that.
Okay, so I see the assistant city manager nodding his head, and very good point, it wasn't agendized. Then, and if that's the case, then, and I may be premature, but Mayor, I'm ready to make a motion to take it back to 2018, and single family and medium density, and you can take it back to those levels. That's my motion. What they were in 20, thanks, Cap, but what they were in 2018. But then going forward, then when we get the new numbers, that then have the numbers ready for what it is, the same throughout each lot. Does that make sense? Is that a clear enough motion? Back to 2018, both for SFRs and the medium density.
So if I could just read that back to you just so that I understand.
Right.
You want to go back to the 2018 assessment that's identified in the 2018 report, and then when a new report is prepared, bring that back for consideration, as well as have us do some review of what the difference between the medium family or medium density residential and the single family residential, what the difference in that rate is. Include that in that report as we come back to the board. And that's what I heard as your motion.
And then bring back the same rate for all. There won't be a difference from single family residential to medium density.
Understood.
Everybody that lives there pays the same.
Got it. So the direction is to bring back a report that has the same rate for everybody.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Okay?
And I still second that.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
She just seconded my motion.
Yes, okay. Before we take action, are there any financial losses if we continue this?
Yes, if at that rate, I believe the amount was somewhere around 60,000 that would be spent into reserves at the reduced rate, which is something that with the 1.5 million reserve, the district can handle for the year.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment?
Yes,
Just
Councilor.
for the record, I just wanted to, you know, go along and I agree with my colleagues, and, you know, the public has been heard, and I appreciate everyone that wrote in and called and talked to us, because I think it is important that we hear from the residents themselves, because as you mentioned, you guys are the ones that are living there, and you guys are there every single day, and so we are only hearing, you know, certain things. And so I appreciate staff's report, and I would be also comfortable with going back to the 2018 fees.
We have a motion on the floor, has been seconded. Any other comments before we take action? Okay.
One just point of clarity. I heard some discussion about giving us direction on looking at the board structure. Is that something you want to include in your motion?
Not necessarily in the motion, but I think just directions to staff, because I don't want to put you on a time crunch either, because if we go that way, we can do that Anytime. Fair enough?
Yes.
All righty, thank you, sir.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Roll call.
I need to
Roll call
take.
vote, please.
Oh, we have to roll call.
Councilmember Bertani,
Yes.
Councilmember Moy,
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro,
Yes.
Councilmember Tim,
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro,
Yes.
and Mayor Price.
Very enlightening discussion. Yes, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. I will now reconvene the meeting of the City Council. Madam Clerk, consent calendar, please.
All matters listed on the consent calendar are to be approved with one motion unless a member of the City Council or the public requests that separate action be taken on a specific item.
We'll take a brief pause here. Some folks want to leave, and then we'll continue. Unless there's a council request to pull something from the consent calendar, we'll go ahead and accept the motion to approve the consent calendar as submitted. Been moved by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilman Tim. Roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Bertani,
Yes.
Councilmember Moy,
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro,
Yes.
Councilmember Tim,
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro,
Yes.
Mayor Price.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We go to new business, item number 14. Madam Clerk, please.
Item 14, under new business, first reading and introduction of ordinance 2021-13 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield, amending Chapter 9 of the Fairfield Municipal Code relating to solid waste collection services. And I'm not sure who our presenter is. Is it Corey Beavers? Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Can everyone hear me? Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Corey Beavers. I work for the Public Works Department and oversee the city's solid waste and recycling program. The item before council in this public hearing makes various amendments to Chapter 9 of the city's municipal code, solid waste collection services. You may recall the presentation I gave to council a few months earlier regarding Senate Bill 1383, where I spoke about new recycling requirements related to organics and that revisions to Chapter 9 would be necessary for the city to be compliant with these mandates. Tonight, I will briefly discuss some of the key amendments to Chapter 9, and I'm available to answer any questions council may have about these changes.
Comments or questions for Corey?
Oh, let me keep on going through. Sorry about that. So, Chapter 9 of the Fairfield Municipal Code sets forth terms and conditions to provide solid waste collection services and to promote the public health, welfare, and safety of the community by establishing regulations relating to the storage, accumulation, collection, and disposal of solid waste within the city. Chapter 9 covers all aspects of the collection and disposal of trash, recycling, organic waste, construction and demolition waste, and other types of waste. These regulations apply to all residential households and commercial industrial properties within the city. Chapter 9 was last updated in February 2013, and that was primarily due to changes in state recycling requirements at that time. Since 2013, there have been numerous changes in state recycling requirements, and staff has identified necessary revisions be made to Chapter 9. These revisions include general language clarification, addition of new language to meet regulations mandated by CalRecycle related to Senate Bill 1383, and revisions to existing language to meet new mandates required by the state's Green Building Standards Code, also known as Cal Green. While most of the changes to Chapter 9 are largely administrative, several major changes are highlighted in your agenda packet that I will speak briefly about. As you may recall, Senate Bill 1383 sets statewide mandates for organics recovery and will result in mandatory organic recycling for all solid waste generators, including residential households, commercial businesses, and multifamily properties. Proposed changes to Chapter 9 reflect these new requirements. These changes will not have a large impact on single-family residential households within the city of Fairfield, as most residents are currently subscribed to garbage, recycling, and organics already. However, for businesses and multifamily properties that are not currently subscribed to recycling or organic services, they will need to sign up. Business owners and property managers will be required to notify employees and tenants to separate material type as well. The City and Republic Services have begun outreach to these communities and will continue to provide support. Chapter 9 revisions also include the creation of an edible food recovery program. Senate Bill 1383 will require that the city establish an edible food recovery program in which certain commercial edible food generators will be required to arrange to recover edible food that would otherwise be disposed. Businesses that are subject to the program will be designated as either Tier 1 or Tier 2 businesses based off classifications previously created by Cal Recycle. Tier 1 generators will need to begin complying with these new requirements starting January 1st, 2022, whereas the Tier 2 generators will begin complying on January 1st, 2024. Lastly, on July 1st, 2019, Cal Green waste diversion measures became effective for both residential and non-residential new construction. The previous Cal Green requirements mandated that 50% of all construction and demolition waste be diverted from the landfill. The new requirements have required a 65% diversion requirement. Then lastly, I just want to briefly highlight some of the next steps related to the City's Senate Bill 1383 implementation plan. The City and R3 Consulting Group recently completed a performance review of Republic Services to assess Republic's collection and operation performance and to address any deficiencies within. Staff has identified some areas for improvement, but overall Republic Services is performing well and meeting the conditions as outlined in our franchise agreement. Amendments to Chapter 9 of the Municipal Code are necessary in order to implement the new Cal Recycle requirements pertaining to Senate Bill 1383. The second reading of the Chapter 9 amendments will occur at our next City Council meeting, July 20th. The City has begun initial conversations with Republic Services to enter into a new franchise agreement with them. The staff anticipates bringing to City Council this agreement in the second half of October 2021. And then the City and Republic Services will begin organic waste collection to all residents, businesses, and multifamily businesses starting in January 1st, 2022. Prior to this date, the City will continue to provide outreach to these businesses. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions staff may have at this time.
Any comments or questions for Corey? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion then to approve.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I was muted. This is...
Councilman White, can you speak a bit louder, please?
Yes, can you hear me now, Mr. Mayor?
I can now, yes, thank you.
Okay. I have a couple of questions for Corey. Corey, thank you for the information. While I was reading through our packet this weekend, I wrote down notes about residents having to buy a permit before going to the dump. Can you explain that?
I'm not sure kind of what you're referring to on that. There was a section in the report that was talking about self-hauling. What that section of the report was talking about is that residences are able to self-haul organic material. So should they choose not to use a Republic Services to backhaul this material, they are able to go ahead and do that. However, due to state reporting requirements, they would have to apply for a permit And basically what that permit would do is that the resident would then have to inform me on how much material they are taking to the dump per their visit.
And how is that different from now?
So right now, most residential single-family homes have organics set up. Organics is simply kind of your green cart right now. So for the residents, 99.9% of people within the city of Fairfield already have green services set up for the single-family homes. So if they chose not to have the organics, right now that the green can is considered free. That is part of your garbage service. So your garbage rate is determined, and that garbage rate designates both the green cost and your blue recycling bin. So very few people within the city are not having organics. If they chose not to, they would not be paying any garbage rate whatsoever, so they would be required to haul all of their garbage and solid waste, and that would include their gray can for their municipal solid waste, their blue can for recycling, and their green can for organics, yard waste, and food waste.
And I didn't know that we allowed people not to have garbage service. I guess I knew that. It doesn't make sense, though. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much for that.
Sure, and then that's exactly what that clause does allow. It would allow people, if they chose not to use a garbage service, they would be able to do that. However, there are several reporting requirements that they would have to do, and that is kind of what that permit would be required.
That makes sense. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Any other comments, colleagues, questions? Bring it back for council action and entertain a motion to approve. It's been moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second, please?
Sorry,
Councilman Tonneson?
Mr. Mayor, did you ask for any public comment on this issue?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Before we take action, any public comment? I didn't think there was any.
I don't have any cards.
You do have a card?
I do not.
No, I didn't think so. Okay, so, been moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second, please? Seconded by Councilman Tonneson. Roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Bertani?
Yes.
Councilmember Moy?
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro?
Yes.
Councilmember Tim?
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro?
Yes.
And Mayor Price.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We turn now to item number 15. Madam Clerk, if you would, please.
Item 15, Resolution 2021-156 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield establishing the City of Fairfield outdoor flag display policy. And our presenter is City Attorney David Lim.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Thank you for letting me speak on item number 15. You had asked back at a previous meeting for the City Council or the City Attorney's Office to give you direction on a policy that includes the use of commemorative flags at the city's Civic Center flagpole for council consideration. The direction from council was to establish a policy that provides guidance and standards for the outdoor display of the United States flag, the California state flag, and commemorative flags as deemed by the council. What you have before you in item 15 is a proposed policy for your consideration for passage. I'll just highlight some of the highlights of the policy that we feel addresses council's desires. Number one, as you know, the flying of the American flag and the California state flag are governed under federal law and Federal Law Title IV, Chapter 1 of the U.S. Code, and the U.S. flag and the state flag, commonly referred to as the bear flag, are governed under California Government Code sections 430 through 439. There is nothing in the provisions of either the federal or the state code that govern the flying of commemorative flags. However, many municipalities do have policies, and so we, as the City Attorney's Office, looked at the best practices of other municipalities in the state. And what we've come up with is a policy and procedures that can help guide you and kind of avoid some of the more common pitfalls arising out of free speech concerns and, you know, kind of a slippery slope of letting anyone and everyone fly the flag over Civic Center, over the Civic Center flagpole. First thing to note in this procedure is that the United States flag and the California flag would keep their priority as the flags of first impression or prominence on the flagpoles. The policy says that no other flag shall be placed above or to the right of the United States flag or shall be larger than the United States flag. So you're covered in that regard. Another policy is that when the flags are displayed on a single pole, the order of the flags will have to be the United States flag, then the California state flag, and then any commemorative flag approved by the City Council. There are some policy directives in here to help guide the flying of the flag at half-staff. I'll answer questions if you would like clarification on them, but I don't think that was the main import of the council's concerns. So I'll jump right to the commemorative flags portion. For commemorative flags, what the city attorney's office has come up with is a declaration in this policy that the flagpole is not to be deemed a forum for free expression by the public. And this is governed under a doctrine known as government speech. It's a well-known policy validated by the U.S. Supreme Court that says the government has as much right to free speech as an individual private person, and that the government can control their own properties and entities for purposes of speaking their mind and supporting things that they deem important. You, as a city council, speak for the city of Fairfield and therefore control the government entities of the city of Fairfield. So by declaring the flagpole part of the government speech, you preclude any entity from coming and saying, well, it's my First Amendment right to fly the flag on your flagpole. We'll say, no, the flagpole is our flagpole, and it's our speech, and we get to determine who flies a flag there. As you can imagine, this allows the council a great deal of flexibility in terms of how to control who flies a flag. In order to encourage the most diverse expression of opinions, which we know is very important for this council, though, the policy would be that any member of the council, so of any 7 members, has a right to request the display of a commemorative flag to the remainder of the council. And so it would be placed on the agenda. That council member would then make their pitch as to why they feel that that particular commemorative flag, whatever it might be, should be flown at the, on the city flagpole. The council can then vote, and a simple majority, flag flies. If the majority of the council says they don't want to do it, doesn't fly. Again, there's no restriction on which council member can bring it up, on how many they can bring up. You know, that's a policy decision, you know, that the other council members and the voters get to decide if they think you're bringing too many, or if they don't like the flag that you're requesting to be flown. It comes right back to all of you as a member of, as a political and a policy matter. The only other things that I'll mention to anticipate some questions is we did put a restriction on the amount of time that the flag could be flown, and that is no more than 30 days, 30 continuous days. We exclusively limited the flying of the commemorative flags to here at the Fairfield Civic Center. And then we just reiterated that the commemorative flags shall always fly beneath the United States flag and the California state flag. And then the last thing I'll say, which I thought might come up at some future point as a point of question or even tonight, is there is language in here that says nothing in this policy is intended to control the city's indoor display of flags, including commemorative flags, within city facilities. The reason we put that in there is we didn't want staff or any people using city facilities, let's say, you know, there's a model UN school coming in, doing a presentation in these council chambers, suddenly they're going to say, well, you can't put up, you know, the flags of Russia and China and Mongolia because they're the model UN. So within our facilities, that's fine. I know that City of Fairfield has a sister city from Toyonaka. If dignitaries from, not Toyonaka, from the city of, from the country of Japan, and if dignitaries from your sister city wanted to come and you wanted to put up Japanese flags to honor them, you don't have to go through the rigmarole of getting approval because it's inside your facility. So that's what that language means. I'll take any questions that council members have at this point.
Questions for City Attorney?
No, just good job, David. I think that pretty much spells it out.
I take no credit for this. This was Mr. Stepanovich, and
okay, Greg, if he's
I
listening.
learned a lot from him.
Well, thank you very much. If there are no questions, entertain a motion to approve, please. It's been moved by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilwoman Pandoro. Roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Bertani?
Yeah.
Councilmember Moy?
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro?
Yes.
Councilmember Tim?
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro?
Yes.
And Mayor Price.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. We turn now to item number 16. Madam Clerk, if you would, please.
Item 16, Resolution 2021-157 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield submitting the levy of a special tax to the qualified electors within the territory annexed to Community Facilities District Number 2012-2, Public Safety Services, Open Space Operation, and Park Maintenance pursuant to Annexation Number 50, 360 Storage Center. And I've just been told we did not receive the ballot for the second part of this. We received two other ballots for two other items, item 21 and 22, but we did not receive the ballot for item 16.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Mayor and council members. I wasn't aware that the ballot wasn't received. This was actually a continuation or just a special election from the May 18th public hearing. I did reach out to our consultant who assists the city with these annexations, and they did confirm that they sent the property owner the ballot, and the property owner did confirm that they were going to send it in. So I'm assuming maybe it's something wrong with the mail, but I will follow up with that and bring that back to the next council meeting. Sorry about that. Do we?
So this item should just be continued then?
Yeah. So we'll just continue this item, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I know in the past they've still voted on the first part, but it's up to you.
The question is, do we want to take action on the first part?
Oh, if it's the council's prerogative, if that's been your past practice, then by all means.
I don't think it's ever happened.
I don't remember it ever happening, so, but we could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know if Mr. City Attorney can answer, but the
Yeah.
action tonight was a special election and declaring the results of the election, but since there's no ballot, I'm not sure if that's possible.
I think just.
Why don't we continue it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's better to
simple,
just keep it
simple
together.
solution.
Oh, thank you.
We'll continue it, please. Thank you. We turn then to item number 17, please.
Item 17, continued public hearing and first reading and introduction of ordinance 2021-14 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield, amending various sections of Chapter 25, Article 1 of the Fairfield Municipal City Code, also known as the zoning ordinance of the City of Fairfield, permitting and regulating tiny homes, correcting the regulations for junior accessory dwelling units, JADU, to require owner occupancy and a covenant as mandated by state law, addressing setback regulations for small lot developments, amending height restrictions for multifamily development in the high-density residential, RH, Heart of Fairfield West Texas Street, HWT, Heart of Fairfield Downtown Commercial, HD, and Downtown Commercial Core, HDC zoning districts, clarifying the regulations governing single-family dwellings in the RH zoning district, amending the mixed-use regulations to include the office, commercial, CO, and neighborhood commercial, CN zoning districts, conditionally permitting specialty tobacco retailers in the HDD and HDC zoning districts, requiring a conditional use permit in the community commercial CC zoning district for automotive maintenance and minor repair, and amending the time frame for interim use permits for non-conforming users in the train station specific plan area, and first reading and introduction of ordinance 2021-15 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield, amending section 7.5 and section 7.11 of the Fairfield Municipal Code to require undergrounding of transformers within the train station specific plan area, and Resolution 2021-159 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield, amending the Heart of Fairfield Plan to correct the land use designation for Midway Court, APN 0028-172-480, from regional and highway commercial, CR, to residential low-medium, RLM. And our presenter is Planner Brian Miller.
Thank you, members of the council. The title pretty much sums up what we're doing tonight. This is one of our periodic cleanup actions on the zoning ordinance and beyond in this case. I did want to highlight a couple of the items, though, for your attention. The tiny homes. This was inspired by interest from a planning commissioner and the planning commission as a whole to look at options to permit smaller homes either by themselves on a lot or in clusters throughout the city. So we've looked at some examples. And we're proposing some changes to the zoning ordinance to permit tiny homes that are still compliant with the building code. So we're not going down to nothing in size. And these are going to be permanent units. We're not looking at this point at trailers or RVs as housing units. These would be built on a foundation, et cetera, and still meet certain standards as far as setbacks, et cetera. So that's one of the items I wanted to highlight. Another item also inspired by our Planning Commission was height limits in certain multifamily zones. We've had several projects recently that have been approved by the city and by the Planning Commission that needed a little bit more height to get the number of stories and to provide airy, open apartments. So we're basically adjusting the height limits in our downtown area and our West Texas Street area by about 5 to 15 feet, depending on the zoning district. The JADU, which are accessory dwelling units built within the existing single-family homes, unfortunately, when we did the update last year, we did not fully implement the state requirements, which is owner occupancy and a covenant. So that simply corrects that. Finally, I might point out we are bringing specialty tobacco back to our downtown area. But with the use permit requirement in the change before you tonight, we're still limiting the number of operations. We're not going to see a plethora of new smoke shops in downtown. We might see one, maybe two at the most in the downtown area. So we're recognizing the need to limit it. Finally, I might point out that we're also limiting the number through a use permit requirement of auto repair shops in the commercial district before you tonight. In addition to these changes, we're also recommending changes to Chapter 7, which primarily deals with requiring undergrounding the large transformer boxes that you see in some street corners in some areas. We're focusing this, of course, on the train station specific plan area. This was partly at the request of actually the primary developer in the One Lake subdivision now, who thought it would be a good idea to minimize the visual and space impacts of these large transformers by requiring them to be undergrounded wherever possible. Finally, we are recommending a correction to the Heart of Fairfield plan, namely the land use element. Midway Court, which is a residential cul-de-sac off Midway, as one would expect from the name, was inadvertently designated on the land use map as regional and highway commercial. This is a residential site in the middle of a residential neighborhood, and the zoning is residential as well, so this merely corrects that. And I can answer any questions, and the city engineer is also here for specific answers on Chapter 7. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Any comments or questions for Brian?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have questions.
Go ahead, please, Councilman Moy.
Thank you. Brian, thank you for all of that information. That was a lot of information in our packet as well. So can you explain to me again what the restrictions are going to be on the smoke shops? Because they've caused issues for us in the city. I'm not saying they all do, but we've had one that was selling weed to minors. And so how many can come into the downtown altogether?
Well, the proposed ordinance requires a 1,200-foot separation. That basically means one. And when I say one, that would mean not necessarily one additional over the existing cigar shop that's there now, because if you really measure it out, you're not going to get much space to do another one. So, I mean, you're basically looking at one.
Okay. All right. I'm okay with that. Thank you.
Councilman Tonneson, please.
Just a clarification question. So on the tiny homes, there's no minimum lot size. Are there typical setbacks or?
Well, they're typical setbacks, but most of the zones where the tiny homes are going to be allowed are zones where there's no minimum lot size anyway. So that's not a change in the code. There are certain zoning districts that don't have a minimum lot size.
That's good. Good.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions for Brian? We'll open the public hearing. Did you have any cards, Madam Clerk?
No. I do not have any cards to speak.
Bring it back. Entertain a motion.
And just to be, I'm sorry, Councilmember Tim, you want to?
Go ahead.
I think it was the motion probably is its first reading.
I was going to say, the motion, if the council so desires, would be a motion to waive full reading of the two ordinances, introduce them by title only, and that would be ordinance 2021-14, 2021-15, as read by the city clerk, and also introduce the ordinances for the first readings, but waive that first reading, and then also adopt resolution 2021-159. That would
Do
be
you
the motion.
want them done separately, or can in one motion?
They can be done in one motion.
So I'll make that motion. Thank
Been
you.
moved by Councilman Tim, seconded by Councilman Tonneson. Roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Bertani?
Yes.
Councilmember Moy?
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro?
Yes.
Councilmember Tim?
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro?
Yes.
And Mayor Price.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Well done, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Item number 18.
Item 18, public hearing and resolution 2021-160 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield ordering the vacation of a portion of Red Top Road and authorizing the city manager to do all things necessary to effectuate a lot merger with said vacated area and an adjacent city-owned parcel. And our presenter is Ryan Pinganiban.
Good evening, Mayor Price, Vice Mayor Vaccaro, and members of the City Council. I'm Ryan Punganeben. I'm the Assistant Public Works Director and City Engineer. Tonight in front of you for consideration is the final step in the process to vacate a portion of right-of-way located on Red Top Road. So to simply orient ourselves and describe the property, it's located immediately north of Interstate 80 on Red Top Road. It's adjacent to our City of Fairfield Red Top Road Park and Ride and the Chevron there. Previously, some may recall that this site was used as a drive-through coffee kiosk. But currently, the 0.19 acre site is vacant and not being used. So this area in green here, just to orient ourselves, is the property that the city currently owns fee title for. And what the city's public works staff is requesting is the vacation of approximately 1,169 square feet of the right-of-way, and it's necessary. Actually, tonight on the council agenda was item 11 to do a lease agreement to bring a new sign monument to this location, and this vacation will make way for that property and make it more usable for that location. And through our analysis, we looked at it and we verified that the 45-foot right-of-way will not impact traffic, and it will also there will be no impacts to utility access. Just a couple of quick highlights. This was presented at the Planning Commission on May 26th. Council heard the first notification of this in June, and we've noticed and did the proper notifications in the Daily Republic and on site as well for the public outreach. So that concludes my presentation, and staff's recommendation is to hold the public hearing and adopt Resolution 2021-160, ordering the vacation of a portion of Red Top Road. I'll be happy to address any questions you have at this time.
Any comments or questions, Ryan? I will open the public hearing. Do you have any?
I don't have any speaker cards.
We'll bring it back then for a council action. Entertain a motion to approve. It's been moved by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilwoman Panduro.
Roll calls. Councilmember Bertani?
Yes.
Councilmember Moy?
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro?
Yes.
Councilmember Tim?
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro?
Yes.
And Mayor Price.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Item 19, public hearing and resolution 2021-161 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield approving the 2021-2022 supplement to engineer's report, confirming the boundaries and assessment, and ordering the levy and collection of assessments, Smith Ranch Assessment District. And our presenter is Chris Lewis, Management Analyst. Thank you.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Chris Lewis, Management Analyst with the Public Works Department. Before you tonight is Resolution 2021-161, approving the fiscal year 2021-2022 assessments for the Smith Ranch Assessment District. This district was established in 1986 in accordance with the Municipal Improvement Act of 1913, found in the Streets and Highways Code. to fund capital maintenance and improvement projects for streets, storm drains, and other infrastructure within the Rancho Solano community. The fiscal year 21-22 assessments are proposed to remain at the fiscal year 2021 rate of $325 per parcel, which does not exceed the maximum allowable assessment of $395 per parcel. On June 1st, 2021, Council adopted Resolution 2021-108, granting preliminary approval of the engineer's report and declaring its intention to order the levy and collection of assessments for fiscal year 21-22. And by conducting the public hearing and adopting the proposed resolutions before you tonight, Council will complete the approval process for the levy and collection of the 2021-22 assessments for the Smith Ranch Maintenance District. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Any comments or questions? We'll open the public hearing. And no request to speak cards, Madam Clerk?
No.
Close the public hearing, bring it back for council action. Entertain a motion to approve. Been moved by Councilwoman Panjuro, seconded by Councilman Tim. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Bertani?
Yes.
Councilmember Moy?
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro?
Yes.
Councilmember Tim?
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro?
Yes.
And Mayor Price.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We
Thank
turn
you.
then to item number 20, please.
Item 20, public hearings and resolutions 2021-162 to 2021-177 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield approving the 2021-2022 engineers' reports, confirming the diagrams and assessments for the 2021-2022 fiscal year, and ordering the improvements for Maintenance District Number 1, Gateway, Number 3, Waterman Highlands, Number 5, Smith Ranch, Number 6, Pepper Tree, Number 7, Rolling Hills, Number 8, Coleb, Number 10, Southbrook, Number 11, Paradise Valley North, Number 12, Downtown Business District, Number 13, North Cordelia, Number 14, Wood Lake, Number 15, Gold Ridge, Number 16, Creekside at Cordelia, Number 17, Chadbourne back to Cordelia, Number 18, Gold Ridge Park, Number 19, Sassoon Valley Road, Kaiser. And our presenter again is Chris Lewis, Management Analyst.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Chris Lewis, Public Works Department. I am here to present to you the proposed fiscal year 21-22 annual assessments for the city's 16 landscaping and lighting maintenance districts, also known as LLMDs. Each year, the council holds public hearings and adopts resolutions to approve the annual assessments for LLMDs as required by the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972. But as this is my first year giving this presentation and for the benefit of the newest council members, I'd like to briefly describe what an LLMD is, give you a couple key points about the city's LLMDs, and also outline some of the significant changes from 2021. One of the notable changes being that recent regulations remove the conflict of interest for council members as it relates to participating in these annual assessment proceedings. So we can now present these LLMDs as one item.
Okay.
To begin the presentation, I'd like to answer the question, what is a Landscaping and Lighting Maintenance District, or LLMD? An LLMD is an assessment district created by local government agencies pursuant to the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972 in the Streets and Highways Code to finance the operation, maintenance of landscaping, lighting, and other improvements that provide a special benefit to properties within a designated territory. LLMDs are funded through the annual levy of assessments upon assessable parcels within the district, and assessments are collected on the annual tax bill. Assessment amounts are proportionate to the estimated special benefit that each parcel receives from the service or improvement that the district provides. Now, if any portion of that service or improvement is determined to be of general benefit, that being of benefit to persons or properties outside the district territory, then the district may receive a general fund contribution to augment special assessments, the assessment revenue, as is the case with some of our LLMDs. So the city has 16 LLMDs, as in the title of the resolution, 16 active LLMDs that were formed between 1984 and 2010. And these districts range both in size, both in boundary area and number of parcels, and in scope, with some districts being dedicated exclusively to the provision of landscaping and lighting maintenance services for residential and commercial areas, while other districts provide an expanded set of services to include open space maintenance and park maintenance. The fiscal year 21-22 assessments for many of these districts are proposed at the same rate that was levied in fiscal year 2021. And all districts' assessments are proposed at or below the allowable maximum rate, which was established either when the district was formed or in a later year by vote. Similarly, the services for most of these districts are proposed to remain at the fiscal year 2021 level. However, for LLMD number 1, Gateway, which is in the Solano Town Center area, assessment rates are proposed to increase approximately 50% in order to maintain the same level of service provided in previous years and in fiscal year 2021. I'd like to just note, however, that even with this increase, all proposed rates for the assessable parcels within this district are still an average of approximately 12% below the maximum allowable rate. So still below what we actually can charge for that district. Similarly, LLMDs number 7, Rolling Hills, number 11, Paradise Valley North, and number 13, North Cordelia, are being proposed with assessments at the top of their allowable range, and also with service reductions in order to avoid a budget deficit. There has been an upward trend in operations and maintenance costs over the last few years, and this was mentioned during last year's assessment proceedings. In years where there is an unexpected budget deficit, these districts relied on fund balance as their safety net to meet their financial obligations. However, in fiscal year 21-22, staff anticipates that these fund balances will be depleted, and if these districts continue providing services at the same level, these districts will meet the end of the year with a budget deficit. Staff is in the process of strategizing to determine what the details of these reductions will look like, as a reduction in certain types of landscaping services don't necessarily equal a proportionate reduction in expenses. So we have to work with our operations department, have discussions with the current service provider, and we will bring back to council recommendations, updates on those discussions, and possible amendments to the current service agreements at a later date. Now, these service reductions are recommended as a potentially temporary solution to a seemingly fixed problem, which is that upward trend in operation and maintenance costs. So the end goal, of course, would be to calibrate these districts in a way that sets them up for long-term financial sustainability. And to that end, staff will be engaging a financial and assessment engineering consultant to assist with a holistic examination of all of the LLMDs, to see if modifications are required to how the assessments are currently calculated, if there's any changes to special versus general benefit over the last 30 years that some of these have been in existence, and to bring these districts to a sustainable level. Staff will also be bringing back to council some updates on those discussions and those findings as well. With that information having been conveyed to you, I can now pivot back to the process of carrying out the annual assessment proceedings as required by the 72 Act. On June 1st, Council adopted Resolutions 2021-109 through 2021-124, declaring its intention to order the levy and collection of the 2021-2022 assessments for all 16 LLMDs. And by conducting the public hearing tonight and adopting the resolutions before you, Council will complete the actions necessary to levy and collect the 2021-2022 assessments. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Any comments or questions for Chris? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing. Have no request to speak, correct? Close the public hearing and bring it back for council action, please. Entertain a motion to approve. It's been moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second, please? Seconded by Councilman Tim. Roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Bertani?
Yes.
Councilmember Moy?
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro?
Yes.
Councilmember Tim?
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro?
Yes.
And Mayor Price.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We turn then to item number 21, please, Madam Clerk.
Item 21, public hearing and resolution 2021-178 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield approving the engineer's report and assessment diagram contained therein regarding the annexation of territory designated as Annexation Number 10, Gold Hill Village 3, to the City of Fairfield Landscaping and Lighting Maintenance District Number 10, Southbrook, and the levy and collection of annual assessments related thereto, commencing with fiscal year 2021 to 2022, and Resolution 2021-179 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield declaring the results of a property owner protest ballot proceeding for the City of Fairfield Landscaping and Lighting Maintenance District Number 10, Southbrook, Annexation Number 10, Gold Hill Village 3, and the levy and collection of annual assessments related thereto commencing fiscal year 2021 to 2022, and Resolution 2021-180 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield ordering the annexation of territory, Gold Hill Village 3, to the City of Fairfield Landscaping and Lighting Maintenance District Number 10, Southbrook, designation as Annexation Number 10, and to levy and collect annual assessments related thereto commencing fiscal year 2021 to 2022. And again, our presenter is Chris Lewis, Management Analyst of Public Works.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Chris Lewis, Management Analyst with the Department of Public Works. Before you tonight is Annexation Number 10 for Landscaping and Lighting Maintenance District Number 10, Southbrook. This district provides funding for the maintenance of landscaping, lighting, and other improvements in the Southbrook area. The territory proposed for annexation includes 11 acres of land located west of Interstate Highway 680 and north of Gold Hill Road. And once constructed, the development will be 79 residential lots known as Gold Hill Village 3. City Council initiated this annexation process for this territory on May 18th with the adoption of Resolutions 2021-92, 2021-93, and 2021-94. And by conducting the public hearing tonight, carrying out the ballot procedure, and adopting the proposed resolutions before you, Council will complete the annexation process and the territory will be added to the district. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Comments or questions? Open the public hearing. Again, have no request to speak cards. We'll close the public hearing, bring it back for council action. Entertain a motion to approve.
And Mr. Mayor, for this one, you need to take each resolution separately.
Okay, thank you.
So the first would be Resolution 2021-178, which is council can take action to approve, and then you'll take 2021-179, the ballot.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, I'll take roll. Councilmember Bertani?
Yes.
Councilmember Moy?
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro?
Yes.
Councilmember Tim?
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro?
Yes.
And Mayor Price?
Yes,
And
motion
I'll now open the ballot. And the votes are yes in favor of assessment.
Okay.
So now the motion, should you choose to make the motion, would be to adopt Resolution 2021-179, declaring the results of the ballot just read.
Motion to approve. Moved by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilman Tim. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bertani?
Yes.
Councilmember Moy?
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro?
Yes.
Councilmember Tim?
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro?
Yes.
And Mayor Price?
Yes, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, the final resolution is Resolution 2021-180, ordering the annexation of territory Gold Hill Village 3 to the City of Fairfield Landscape and Lighting Maintenance District Number 10, and as further read by the city clerk.
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second? Councilwoman Panduro, thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bertani?
Yes.
Councilmember Moy?
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro?
Yes.
Councilmember Tim?
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro?
Yes.
And Mayor Price?
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we turn to item 22, public hearing and resolution 2021-181 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield annexing of territory Gold Hill Village 3 to the Community Facilities District Number 2012-2, Public Safety Services, Open Space Operation, and Park Maintenance as Annexation Number 51, authorizing the levy of a special tax within the annexed territory and submitting the levy of a special tax to qualified electors thereof, and Resolution 2021-182 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield declaring the results of a special annexation election in territory annexed to Community Facilities, District Number 2012-2, Public Safety Services, Open Space Operation, and Park Maintenance, determining the validity of prior proceedings and directing recording of amended notice of special tax lien for City of Fairfield Community Facilities, District Number 2012-2, Public Safety Services, Open Space Operation, and Park Maintenance, Annexation Number 51, Gold Hill Village. And again, our presenter is Chris Lewis.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Chris Lewis, Management Analyst for the Department of Public Works. I got one more and then I'll leave you alone. Before you tonight is Annexation Number 51 for Community Facilities District 2012-2. This district provides funding for public safety services, open space operation, and park maintenance throughout the city. The territory proposed for annexation is located west of Interstate Highway 680 and north of Gold Hill Road. And once constructed, the development will be 79 residential lots known as Gold Hill Village 3. City Council initiated its annexation process for this territory on May 18th with the adoption of Resolution 2021-91. And by conducting the public hearing tonight, carrying out the ballot procedure, and adopting the resolutions before you, Council will complete the annexation process and the territory will be added to the district. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Any comments or questions? I open the public hearing. Have no request to speak cards?
No.
Okay. Entertain a motion then to approve.
And Mr. Mayor, this is also one of those where you need to adopt Resolution 2021-181 first.
So moved on 181.
And seconded by Councilman Tonneson. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Bertani?
Yes.
Councilmember Moy?
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro?
Yes.
Councilmember Tim?
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro?
Yes.
And Mayor Price?
Yes.
And now I'll open the ballot. Two envelopes. And I have 12 yes votes in favor of annexation.
And so now, Mr. Mayor, the council would be moving to either approve or deny Resolution 2021-182 of the City Council and City of Fairfield declaring the results of the special annexation election in territory annexed to Community Facilities District Number 2012-2, Public Safety Services, Open Space Operation, and Park Maintenance, determining the validity of prior proceedings and directing recording of amended notice of special tax lien for City of Fairfield Community Facilities District Number 2012-2 and Annexation Number 51, Gold Hill Village 3.
So moved.
Been moved by Councilman Tim, seconded by Councilwoman Panduro. Roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Bertani?
Yes.
Councilmember Moy?
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro?
Yes.
Councilmember Tim?
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro?
Yes.
And Mayor Price.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we have one last item, item 23, public hearing and resolution 2021-183 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield, authorizing use of the bond opportunities for land development BOLD program, authorizing the California Municipal Finance Authority to accept applications from property owners, conduct proceedings, and levy special taxes within the territory of the Eureka Union School District pursuant to the Melrose Community Facilities Act of 1982 as amended, and authorizing related actions. And our presenter is Dwayne Dahlman, Economic Senior Development Manager.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. So tonight we're here for the public hearing required to allow developers to participate in the BOLD program here in Fairfield. BOLD stands for the Bond Opportunities for Land Development. The BOLD program is operated by the California Municipal Finance Authority. It's a statewide joint powers authority which Fairfield's already a member of. The program offers developers the ability to finance public infrastructure, including impact fees, through Melrose, a common financing method for home development in California. So the BOLD program financing is specifically accomplished by forming community facilities districts, CFDs, and bonding. Now, the city already participates in the SKIP program, which is a related financing mechanism used by the development community already in Fairfield. For the BOLD program, everything is handled by the California Municipal Finance Authority. There's no cost to the city. The city is not liable to pay the bonds issued for development. And we are proposing tonight to participate in the program as a tool that the city can offer to further development here in Fairfield. So that concludes my presentation. I'm open to any questions you may have. Before a vote is taken, I do need to point out that the resolution states the language in there, it says within the territory of the Eureka Union School District. That's an error. It should say within the city of Fairfield. So just wanted to point that out before a vote is taken. And I'd be happy to answer
And Dwayne, that was a good catch too, so thank you.
We just put that in there to test council members, right? Yeah.
So, any comments or questions for Dwayne? None? Okay.
Make a motion.
It's been moved by Councilman Tonneson. Is there, can I open the public hearing? I thought we were closed. No request to speak cards?
No.
No. It's been moved by Councilman Tonneson, seconded by the Vice Mayor. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bertani?
Yes.
Councilmember Moy?
Yes.
Councilmember Panduro?
Yes.
Councilmember Tim?
Yes.
Councilmember Tonneson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro?
Yes.
And Mayor Price?
Yes,
Thank
motion
you.
carries unanimously. There is no other business before this body. We are adjourned until our next meeting on July 20th, 6 p.m. here. And thank you very much, and thank all of you for participating, particularly staff. Thank you for the excellent work.